All right, YouTube, this is Mr. Mean coming at you this fine Monday evening about 7:15 p.m. I hope everyone is doing well. Tonight's video du jour is a little playtest of Fantasy Age 2nd Edition. I've got my good friend Brian, aka Farcaster Northwest, and Cosmic Flux, aka Mark, on here, and we're going to play a little Fantasy Age. Just kind of toss the rules around. We're recording this for posterity. Hopefully you like it, and we're going to get into it right now. So without further ado, here we go. All right, guys, so we've got our characters. Mark, why don't you do me a favor and introduce your character? Did you give him a name?
I don't have a name yet.
I have fantasy name generator up. I can give you one if you want one.
I've been through the adventure with a companion with no name.
Yeah.
It felt good to be out of the... Wait a minute. No, that might be copyrighted strike. We shouldn't do that.
I don't...
All right, take a second. Brian, you got a name for your guy?
I do. I'm debating revealing it because game masters have been known to do horrible things with names.
Well, I'm going to do it.
All right, I'll go in. I am playing Kiriel Alendi of, the legendary Alendi Elven clan, who is an Elven mage.
All right. Can you spell the first name for me?
I can. Kyriel.
Kiriel. Okay.
And that is actually using some of the suggested names from the Fantasy Age 2nd Edition book, playtesting the names here.
Cool. So, Brian, you actually made your character from scratch, correct?
I did.
And how did you find the process?
Oh, easy peasy.
Yeah, I mean, now you and I have played a decent amount of Fantasy Age 1st Edition. Was it similar, dissimilar? I mean, did you have any... I assume nothing stuck out.
Yeah, same game.
Same game, yeah.
Same
I made Mark's character, and I made an envoy, because the envoys are new in the 2nd edition, and he seems very capable, so I kind of like the envoy. Mark?
Yeah, I think it was just more, I just felt it was more, because I've got I believe the companion, or, I've got the range from 1st edition, so I think it was just like, a beefier a book, because they pulled some stuff in, but no, I didn't do a point-by-point comparison.
Right. No, and nor, I mean, did you have to? From my understanding, they combined the player's companion and the core rulebook into one book, so that you didn't need 2 books anymore. And of course, they did add the envoy. They added some extra options for like chases and stuff. They also included
a lot of that stuff came later in like other age books. Right, so they checked. I know they pulled the spiral from the Expanse, and my Expanse players love the churn.
Yeah, and they pulled the...
I do not wish to have the... Hear me clearly, O Game Master. I do not wish to have the churn in this sample adventure. Thank you very much.
I don't plan on using it. They also pulled the horror mechanics from their Cthulhu game. So, and then some others from various little PDF supplements that they've put out to support their line. And for people that don't know, Green Ronin, or Ronin as they like to say, I refuse to say it that way though, but Green Ronin is a small company. They are definitely, I think it's 4 employees. And so, and a lot of, contractors, so to speak, or work for hire. So, people often complain about how long it takes them to bring stuff out, because Mutants and Masterminds is probably their most popular line. And if you go on the forums, all it is complaints about when is this book coming out? It was mentioned a year ago and we still don't have it, blah, blah, blah. So, I mean, got to remember, it's like a 3-4 man company. So things don't move super, and they all have day jobs. This is something they do on the side. It is not their full-time business. So,
and I'm glad to see you cut them no slack whatsoever on pronouncing their name correctly, the same way that you still insist on calling it Microsoft and IBM instead of IBM.
Well, it's itty bitty machine.
It's really your trademark thing.
Right. It's clearly, IBM is itty bitty machine. I don't care what they say. We all know that's what it means. Clearly. All right, Mark, you had enough time to come up with a name, or I'm going to give you the name of Bob.
No, not that one. How about Jular Sheen.
Jular? How do you spell that?
I spell it Jular.
Jular. Okay. Awesome. All right. So as you two know each other and you guys can
Well, what are you playing, Mark?
oh yeah.
What is Jular?
He's an envoy.
Human, elven, dwarven?
I don't know.
Human.
I assume that was the case, but my character sheet does not specify it.
Yeah, he's a Uman. I believe you're half human, half elven. Because I got to draw from both. When you make a bi-race character, you get one pick from your parent race and then a second pick on the racial characteristics from the other class. But you get to decide which side is dominant. So you can look more elvish with some human traits, or you could look more human with some elvish traits. And I don't think you specified either way. And it's pure.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That is right. Half elf, I guess.
Yeah, so you're technically half elf,
But
and I think I made him leaning more towards the elvish side. So a little fairer of skin, pointy, slightly pointed ears, long hair, unless you choose to cut it short, and of slender stature.
yeah, what's crazy doesn't say that anywhere on the character sheet.
Right. Yeah. Well, we've had our go around lately with character sheets. Speaking of Actum Cthulhu.
Yeah.
Because there's only social class, background, and class. That's it. There is a spot for talents and traits, though, or talent specialization and special features. I'm looking at a blank character sheet right now, and there is nothing on the character sheet. Well, there's personal details and history, so I guess you could put it there. But again, they kind of focus on that aspect of it's a role-playing game. You should roll that part out, role play that part. So the mechanical features are built into the game mechanics of creating a character, which is kind of cool in my aspect. Everybody knows Mr. Mean is not usually a fan of D6 systems. This is one of the systems that I do rather enjoy. So
I guess that is. Yeah, for some reason I was just thinking whatever was in the talent specializations and special features. I thought you got a chicken and let it loose wandering around in that box.
You mean you're talking about my handwriting? That is, if I had
I guess
feelings,
that's what that is. Yeah.
Yeah, if I had feelings, that would kind of hurt. But well, we know better.
Those have long been burned away in the crucible that is GMing.
Yes, yes. So to dive into this, and of course, for those that don't know, the game mechanics are actually fairly simple. It's a roll, an attribute or skill roll or an attribute roll, which is 3d6 plus your attribute and any focuses that you have that are relevant, if they're applicable. And all focuses for early level characters up until I believe 6th level is a +2. So if you have a focus and an ability, you get to add a +2 to your 3d6. Typical target numbers usually around 7 to 11, depending on what you're trying to do. So there's a pretty decent little bell curve there. And entry, I feel that it's just like Fantasy Age First Edition. I think the character abilities and their ability to get things done, their performance is pretty good. Pretty good. Better than most first level characters in certain things. They feel a little more accomplished, a little more well rounded. Although making Mark's character, I had to go over it like 3 times because it just felt like you didn't have enough talents or specializations. But I went through it and everything was correct. It's the way it worked out, and it seemed light to me. But then I looked at Brian's character, and his was pretty much the same way. So I feel it's balanced. But we'll see as we go into tonight's adventure. In the small,
We all gonna die.
we're all gonna die. I will apologize now. Mother is sick, so I'm on kid duty. So I'm listening. I got one ear out for the kids. So if I hear him, if he screams or he needs something, he will come down into the man cave and get me. But he's up there playing on his iPad, so he's pretty happy.
Jular, quick, strike while he's distracted.
Yes, exactly. So you guys have made your way, and again, we're gonna, for the sake of brevity and the session tonight, you two know each other. You're boon companions. You look out for each other. You are friends, and that can be however you so decide. But we start our little adventure as the camera zooms into this quaint little village, probably 70 people strong. There's farms all along the outside, and outside of that area of the farms, it's pretty heavily wooded. You can see that there's some cattle, some oxen, some pigs and chickens. There's a dedicated little area for farming. There's a dedicated area where they do chop down trees. There's a large building, which upon further inspection is a lumber mill where they process wood. There is a medium-sized river on the south side of town that runs east and west. And it
does the lumber mill have a water wheel?
Yes.
And is there another water wheel, perhaps a mill?
Yes.
Like for wheat. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a fairly well-off little village
Yeah.
if they've got
It's
two water wheels
yeah.
and that.
And you guys have been here for a few days, kind of just resting maybe from your travels. And the town leader, and you haven't met him because you haven't had cause or need to, but you've heard him spoken of in reverence and in good-heartedness, Bellin the Dragonheart. And the reason he has that name, and he is the mayor of the town and the town speaker, is he used to be a knight. And it was said that he had the opportunity to slay a dragon, and he spared it. And the dragon gave him a piece of his heart, thus giving him the title of Dragonheart. And some say that he's over 100 years old. But you've seen him walking around town. Again, you haven't had cause to actually speak with him, but he looks to be of a man in his early 50s. He's very fit, vim and vigor, but he's got some graying of the hair. His beard is gray, but he doesn't seem to be elderly of any. If he's over 100 years old, he's in great shape. Let's put it that way.
I've explained to Jular that this is this is all nonsensical fantasy bullshit, right? Like that's not how magic works. Dragons don't give people their hearts. That's not
right.
But humor. But clearly we want to humor these people while we're sizing up opportunities.
Right, before you fleece the town blind, right?
Not blind, but fleece them we shall. No, I'm a wizard. I'm an upper class mage. I don't fleece people, please. I don't need to fleece people.
That's what
people
the
come to
envoy
me.
is for.
People want to do business with me.
That's what the envoy's for, correct? He sells your wares.
He doesn't sell my wares.
Oh, come on.
I say nice things about things.
I say
Yeah,
nice
no,
things
we're
about
like a classic '80s fantasy duo. I want a little bit more mist around this village, and let's get to the. Clearly, we're going to meet this guy Otto von Bismarck or Lionhearted or Dragonhearted.
Bellin the Dragonheart, which again, if town murmur is correct, he is a good person. And the town, from what you've been here maybe 3 days now, the town seems prosperous. I mean, there's no like slum section. There's a couple goblins, they're not abused like in a lot of other towns. The non-human races are.
They're running Quark's Bar, aren't they?
Pretty much, yes. And when you go in, there's the 100 rules of acquisition that you have to read before you can order a drink, and everybody goes along with it because, Quark is he's quirky. But there's a produce section there. There's a farmer's market. There's a couple caravans that come and go. There's a couple smaller barges because the river is not super large. It's a decent sized river, and they do transport lumber down it once they process it on flat barges.
Are there bridges across the river?
Yes, there's one bridge that goes across into the heavy wooded area. That's kind of, I don't want to say it's no man's land, but a lot of people stay out of those woods just because there's said to be orcs and lizard men in those area, and they're very territorial.
Is the town on one bank or both banks?
One
It sounds
bank.
like it's on one bank thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. And the mill is kind of the hub. Obviously, a lot of money is made through the mill. And then, of course, there is some trade and commerce. And like I said, it's a little small town, verging on, becoming a city one day if it keeps going the way it is. And there is a thriving market. There's a general store. There's Garen's Mercurial Goods, which may be of a place interest to you, as they supposedly sell potions and herbs and accoutrements of all flavors. And Garen is a human, supposedly a once powerful wizard who has given up the wizardly life to become a simple shopkeeper.
I don't know if your financial situation is any better than mine, but if he's selling potions, I hope he's selling them for cheap.
Well, I would just don't bet your life on that tonic of restoration, because it may not do exactly what you think it does. But no, generally this is your very positive fantasy town. There's nobody complains about anything, and the day is going by swimmingly. You're enjoying, you're breaking your fast the third morning that you were there, when a woman comes running into town, and she is clearly distraught.
So I'm actually out. I want to. I know I'm going to break it, but I'll play into it. I'm going to be a yes and type. My guy gets up early in the morning before really breaking his fast and stuff. Like he probably, he's got a wineskin, but he goes out. He's got a hawk, a trained hawk, gray wing. So my character might have been out on like the green or even a little on the outskirts of town exercising gray wing and letting her kind of range. And maybe I'm there when this chick comes running in, if she's running across the wilderness. And I don't know, Jular, what about you? Do you are you already in your cups, or do you watch when I do? Because you've seen me do this hawk thing before. Like gray wing needs to stretch her wings.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if we've been here for a few days, Jular probably was up a little bit late, and so is probably just rousing now.
Okay, not a problem.
Nice.
I imagine I had much more silver before the beginning of the campaign, but I've drank away some of it.
Yeah,
I picture your character like just as like thinking about John's narration, like just as that's happening, like I could see you like just waking up and opening like the shutters or something of like your, like your in room.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So yeah, as that
Cry of a
happens,
hawk.
and as Julian is waking from the night's past revelries, and wishing that things weren't so loud and the sun wasn't so bright, it is summertime, so the weather is nice.
Could really use an eclipse right now.
Really, sorry, it's not going to happen. When this woman, appears at first look there, Kirill, appears to be an older woman, but yet the way she's moving is pretty fast, and she's crying, and she's got blood on the front of her apron, and part of her coat that she's wearing, light coat, like a work coat, is ripped, and there's blood on it, and her face is a little bruised, and you see her hair is white at the roots, all in the front, and she's screaming hysterically, and of course everybody like literally just stops and looks, and most people are literally in shock, because this is not something that's commonly seen here, and someone says, Muriel, what's wrong? And she's just screaming, my baby, please save my baby, it got her, somebody help me. And there's no real town guards. There is a militia that can rise up when the time comes. But
But by the time they call out the militia, whatever has happened will be even further. I call, I whistle for Greywing and hold up my my hand for Greywing, and move towards the woman. I'm already on a horse, And so, I assume Grey Wing probably comes in, lands, maybe moves to my shoulder, and I dismount and ask her what has happened.
She
What
looks up at
precisely
you,
has happened?
tears in her eyes, streaking with what appears to be blood and maybe mud, dirt. You can see her hands are filthy, and she says, "I don't know." And she breaks down even more now that she's taken a second to kind of gather herself as someone is listening to her. She just breaks down and she says, "It grabbed my baby. Something in the wood. Something large."
I have one of the other villagers kind of like hold her and comfort her, and I go to one of the saddlebags and I rummage through and I find some herb that's going to kind of help her. It's good for shock. It's kind of like kind of a smelling salt type of thing, and I crush it in my hands and to get the oils into my gloves, and I kind of hold it against her face. John, I have Cheergy
Right.
as a novice, which is kind of like a healing skill. So I'm wondering if rather than, we could use that, but, is there a role I could make or something I could do to help her,
I would say
snap out of it a
would
little
work
bit?
perfectly. So, you're in a rush, but you know your accoutrements, your job. So yeah, that's based off of what, intelligence?
Hang on, just taking a look right now. Talent?
Is it a focus?
No, it's
A talent.
I believe it's a talent.
Okay, yeah. So so no applicable unless you have first aid as a focus or medicine.
What do you mean?
Did you have the focus medicine under intelligence? Okay.
I don't believe so.
Okay, but
it was a starting pick, so it was accepted from the requirement since I took it at first level.
And
so
it's a talent, right?
Yeah. So normally it does require intelligence healing focus, but again, because it's an initial selection, that's waived.
Yeah, you can waive the. All
Yep.
right.
So heal is a minor action for me.
Right.
So it's basically letting me quickly do heal, which is an action. Boy, all of that for the action, right?
Oh, no, that's fine. That's we're all learning.
So intelligence test TN11.
All right, so 3d6. I'll give you a +1 bonus because you have the right herbs to put it all together.
Oh, nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
And let's see. Ooh, nice. Ooh, and a 6 on the stunt die. It's a fancy symbol, so I had to check the die quickly. Like, is it one of those ones where I'm going to be like, ah?
Now, for those that don't know, in Fantasy Age, when you roll 3d6, one of them needs to be a different color from the other two dice. That's referred to as your stunt die. And so what happens in Fantasy Age is if you manage to roll doubles on any of the 3 dice, including the stunt die, if you roll doubles, whatever the number is on your stunt die gives you X amount of stunt points from 1 to 6. And then there's a handy little handout that Green Ronin gives you for all of their games, including Fantasy Age. And there's different stunts. So there's social stunts, there's combat stunts, there's magic stunts, and there's what's the third one? Encounter stunts, I believe, or social.
There's all kinds of stunts.
Yeah, there's
chase stunts.
Chase stunt, yeah. And so basically you can spend those stunt points as a currency to make better things, or get advantages and things like that. So first of all, Bri, did you get any doubles?
No, so unfortunately, I did not get doubles. I kind of got like like a straight or something. I got a 4, 5, and a 6.
Okay, so you beat the target number.
Guy. So I beat the target. I also have an intelligence of 3, so I got an 18. So I well beat the target.
Yes.
And then quality is normally dictated by the stunt die. So I got a 6, which is nice.
Yes.
But also because of the way the heal action works, the ally gains back an amount of health equal to the stunt die plus my intelligence. So that would be 9 points, or I guess in this case, if it's not damage, I'm kind of playing on my GM to, like have her out of shock or
Exactly, and that's
give me
exactly
that
what
kind of
happens.
thing.
Whatever the herbs, some mint, some clover, and maybe some willow weed, and
Queen's foil, we'll
Queen's
say.
foil. Yeah, it's enough to calm her down. Her breathing becomes more controlled. She's still crying. There's still tears.
And then I take my ungauntleted hand. No, I take my gauntleted hand because I've got a hawk, and so one of the places it perches is on my left hand, my offhand, and I hold it in front of her, kind of doing like an L, and we're calling her a loser if it were modern times, but it is not. and like there's some sparks that kind of shimmer along the gauntlet, and I say, "Look at me. Markwell, remember what you saw. Tell me now."
Yeah, and because of whatever the herbs are, maybe they put her in some sort of state where she's able to, you see her pupils just, laser focus, and she's kind of looking at the hawk like it's a focus, but she just starts recounting, and, she states that she was picking herbs in the woods where the thistlefoot grows. It's a great medicinal herb, and she was picking that for the herbologist in town. Herbalist, there we go, that's the word. Herbalist in town, who is her husband, and her daughter Muriel was with her when they heard a strange noise, and she remembers exactly that the voice said, "You've all taken my children, now I take yours." And then something snatched Muriel, and something whipped out, hit her across the shoulder. You see, she does have a cut on her shoulder, but because of the ugents or whatever you call it that you have applied and given her, it's kind of starting to heal. It's caused the blood to clot, and of course she doesn't feel necessarily the pain because of your commanding voice and the hawk and everything. It's just you've made her laser focused, and so she's starting to staunch the flow of tears, and she seems to be gathering herself, but she's still very upset, and she just says, it took Muriel, it was big, and she tells you exactly that it said, "You've taken my children, now I'll take yours," and then that's all she remembers. Then she started running when she couldn't find her daughter, and all she saw was a splatter of blood. And so that caused her to freak out, of course, and she ran back to the village to get help, hence running into you. So at this point, we're going to cut to Jular. You were opening the curtains, probably standing there splashing some water on your face to try and kind of recover from the night's festivities when you hear all this wailing and screaming, and you just happen to be at the inn where you have a clear focus on the edge of town, right where Curiel was, and this woman comes running into town screaming like a banshee, and you see the hawk land on his hand, and he quickly reaches into a pouch, crushes some herbs, and kind of shoves them under her nose, and you see that she calms, and you can clearly see that she's conversing with him. What do you do?
Well, it seems as if she is in distress, so I will like pull on my coat and grab my blade and leave my room and hurry down through the common room and out to where Curiel and the woman are.
Yeah. And it's your typical, everyone's looking out the window and people are starting to gather around, and at about that point, as you walk up, you see Bellin, the Dragonheart, step up. And, his chest is poking out, and he says, "What seems to be going on here? What is this ruckus this fine morning? Muriel, what's happened to you?" And she's crying, Curiel, you're sitting there with her, comforting her. Some other women come up and grab her, and Balin wants to know, well, I can rouse the town guard, but clearly this young man, and he looks at you kind of, and he nods, one of those implied, "You're probably going to take care of this, aren't you?" kind of look. He says, "We can rouse the guard and we can set up a search patrol, but I need a brave adventurer or adventurers," as he sees Jular come walking up. He says, "I know you fine gentlemen have been in town for a couple of nights. Would you please assist the town in this matter, as it will take me time to rouse the guard?"
He Curiel looks after kind of handing the woman off to, her friends and, her community. And pray tell, why would a woodland fae feel this town is taking their children?
And Balin looks clearly distraught at your question, and he stutters and he well, I do not know. We've usually been on good dealings with the Fae. We don't take too much from the woods, and we give proper thanks to the gods when we take animals, but we have our own livestock in town. As far as I know, in fact, some of the kids, and he reaches down and there's one of the young goblin children, and he pats his head and he says, a lot of the children claim that they play with the fairies in the woods. And the goblin looks up, Jay, and he's missing like 2 teeth in his mouth. He's like, yes, sir, we do. They're wonderful. And he's super happy, but he seems, his timbre in his voice is a little down because of the situation. But you can see he's a bright-eyed child.
Well, I explained that Muriel has... her child has been abducted, and the stated cause, that triggered it was that whoever abducted her child felt that the town was taking their children.
Correct, and
you may wish to consider.
He says, "Good sir, truly, I mean, you appear to be a man of knowledge, and
I am no sir, and I am no man. I am Curiel Alendi, and I am a mage." And I let the hood fall back, and you can see my the ears, I got the big knife ears.
Right, and he kind of realizes, and he bows prominent to you, and he says, "Good mage, then I will beseech you for the good word of this town, as I swear to you on my honor as Balin the Dragonheart, master of 100 armies, and my years of service to the king and crown, I have never, nor anyone in my command, has done anything to hurt any of the Fae in this village or in the surrounding woods. We are on good terms with even the elves that lie in the southern woods. I know not what this malady is that comes across our land, but I would beseech you in the name of all that is good to help us. I will put coin in your pocket, and I will spread word of your great deeds if you choose to help us. But I assure you, no one in this village has done anything to hurt the Fae, if this is indeed a Fae creature, which at this point we are not sure if it is or it isn't. But I would beseech you to lend hand and aid to this good town, and we will help you in the best way that we can." And he looks to you and Jular. And of course, at this point, with his empowered speech, the rest of the villagers are like, yeah, we'll help. We'll get the guard together, my lord, and we'll help these fine adventurers.
Sorry, you go, Jular.
It is too early for this.
He's going back to bed. Call me after noon.
Are you an envoy, or are you Jular the Barbarian?
I think he's a little bit of
It
both.
is too early for this. I give a nod and said, we shall do what we can. And I kind of tap his chest by his heart. And I just kind of give him the look. I don't say anything because the people are watching. But, I give him the look that conveys and if I find out that this isn't true.
Right. Go ahead and do me a favor. Make me a communication, and if you have any applicable focus for.
I do not.
Okay, so just
luckily I have a +1, so. 6, 10, 11, 12.
12. Okay. Let me see. Give me a sec. Okay. Well, I rolled exceptionally well myself. It's almost you both stand there and you look each other in the eye. and I will give it to you for free. As you poke his chest, he's not wearing armor. He's wearing a simple,
I don't poke him, but yeah,
where you touch him on the chest to Dragonheart, you see that as he moves and he meets your stern gaze, to basically it's that nonverbal attitude of, sir, I am not lying to you, and I stand by my word. He's very resolute in his statement, and you see that when he shuffles, his shirt opens, and you can see there's a scar, a nasty scar where his heart would be. And when he realizes it's open, he pulls it closed, and he just says, "The town will back you, and if it is true that something has befallen the Fae, we will do everything here that we can to set it right. On that, you have my word, mage." And he bows to you very deeply.
Yeah, I nod and I say, "Well, knowing that, I feel we can speak safely for the town at the moment, should we need to." And I look over at Jular. Do you need anything?
Yeah, I think I grabbed everything on my way out of my room.
Except that.
I think we'll be back in. I think we'll be back in time for cups in the evening. Well, never mind. We'll do our.
Is there really ever any knowing with any good luck, right?
We will do our heroics, and perhaps there will be ale at the end of it. But if nothing else, we will resolve this mystery for the town.
So at which point the crowd starts breaking up, and you see there's what appears to be probably half orc, more on the orcish side than the non-orcish side, and he comes and he's wringing his hat. He has a simple hat, and he's wearing a cloth apron. And you can see there's various little vials and tweezers and like a little tiny, almost like a saw. And clearly he has the look of an herbalist, and he's wringing his hat, and he looks at you, Jular, and he says, "Hello, I am Modarn. I am the herbalist of this town." And you can see he's kind of shaking, and there's sweat coming down the side, from his brow and everything. And he looks very distraught. And he says, "You're going to go find Muriel, my daughter?"
Your daughter is.
She's named after her mother, which is also named Muriel. It's called GM coming up with names on the spot.
Yeah. Very confusing. People should have different names, but yes, you are correct.
It's an old orcish custom. I don't understand. I don't expect humans or elvens to get it. He says, "In that case, please take this," and he gives you a small pouch. And inside of the pouch is 2 vials of liquid. 2 vials of liquid, and he says, "In your moment of peril, or if your wounds become too great, drink these, and it will invigorate you and keep you in the fight. If a fight is to be had, it is the best I can do at this time."
Liquid courage, baby.
Liquid, yeah. It says Jim Bean on the side. No,
that's what happens at 200 proof.
That's right.
Stands you back up on your feet.
That's right. And they are minor healing elixirs. So,
So Jular, why don't you keep those, since I have healing magic and healing skills, and that way if I go down, you could do healing as well.
Well, we shall hope that it doesn't come to that.
He says, thank you. And he seems, like I said, very, very, very grateful for your assistance.
Again, I'll give you 1 experience point as a GM for actually working your lack of a name generator into orcish culture. That was some fancy stepping, my friend. I'm going to award you an XP point.
Many years of GMing, many years.
Yeah,
many years. And I'm not
I'll
gonna
give
lie,
you verisimilitude.
may have taken a page out of your book once or twice.
Muriel the Lesser.
That's right.
The younger.
Muriel the young.
The smaller.
Yes, the smaller. The more easily eaten by evil creatures. But that is yet to be seen.
Why is it that every person in this town is named Bosch?
But with a different. Oh no, but that's Bosch the club. That's Bosch sexy pants. That's
Right.
Bosch the shaman.
Perhaps his name generator was stuck.
Big Bosch.
Big Bosch,
Little Bosch.
mediocre Bosch.
I think it is important when you have a name generator to have multiple names in the algorithm.
Yeah. So you can clearly see from the way which way she came from the woods to the north, and you know.
And did she have any specific description or landmark or anything around her where it happened that I'm able to get from her?
Yeah, she said it was a minor, a small clearing where the moss grows that she was gathering for her husband. Her and her daughter were. And there's a small,
Little mossy clearing.
yeah, there's a small trail. You can easily pick it out. I mean, it doesn't even require you can clearly see it's well traveled. They go there, they pick some of the moss and stuff, and the other mushrooms and viable tubers and things that they need to create the elixirs and potions and medicinal products that the village needs. The small town, I should say, is slightly bigger than a village, but smaller than a big town. And so if you're ready, you can head on out now.
We we head out. I get up on my horse.
Okay.
And I make John. I'm going to make an intelligence arcane lore roll on the journey. And the good news is I came up with doubles, but I came up with triples, man. But they were all twos. So even with a 3, I got a kind of a mediocre 9. So I speculate the entire time to my companion, Jular, about what kinds of different fey creatures this might be. There could be mossy gnomes, and there could be, mushroom fey, and it's all very academic. My character was an apprentice, so it's a lot of like old classic arcane lore, none of which is necessarily correct or relevant whatsoever.
Right. It's. I mean, as far as Jular is concerned, it seems legit. I don't know if Jular has any specialization in arcane lore or fairy lore, or area knowledge. I don't
smell bullshit.
Oh, so you're a philosopher? Got it. AKA bullshit artist. Jular, do you have any of those talents or focuses? I
have religious lore, natural lore, and historical.
Man, you could make
or do you even care? Or do you even care? You're like, your character probably tuned me out entirely.
I start walking slower.
Oh, you're walking. Okay, I guess I'm the only one riding.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of gear.
I like to shout, Jular, we ride. But when I say we ride, I really only mean I ride.
Me, yeah.
That doesn't make sense. A horse is a horse is 40. I'm sorry, I can't afford a horse.
I wasn't going to say anything, but yeah, you don't get.
Well, can't they hook us up with a
15 silver
horse or a ride?
They will give
pony,
you 2 draft horses to ride. Of course, I don't think either one of you have the ride focus. So
Flaxmane, I take Flaxmane, my horse.
Yeah, I mean, Mark, you can have a horse. I mean, it's a one
well,
shot.
I will let them know that draft horses are not fit for riding.
Right.
If you need me to pull anything behind it, that is what a draft horse is for.
And they realize that, but beggars can't be choosers. So either take the horse or walk. They don't care.
Well, Muriel was walking, right?
Right. Yeah, it's not that far.
Actually, she ran.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She was pretty winded. So let's say you're making a roll.
Oh,
if you would like to make a roll on your history, intelligence history, you can. That's up to you. The target number will be 10. If you don't want to roll and you just figure that it is more of Kiriel's blathering about how he's so educated and yada yada yada, and you've tuned him out long ago, that's up to you. That is a role playing that I will not insist upon, but it's up to you.
So I add the number from my intelligence, and if I have a focus, that was
+2.
How much?
+2.
So 4
plus 3d6
and 21.
Holy crap!
with doubles.
I think it's less. Oh, I was gonna say I think it's less. You go, Mark.
I rolled 2 6s and a 5.
Wow.
Nice.
Nice.
I think I'm done rolling. I don't think I can beat that.
Yeah, so it's less blathering and more like me doing an encyclopedic dump of like all these types of Fey, like this type we need to use charcoal and salt, and that kind if it's
Your Jular
it's
is
just not
thinking,
helpful.
I shall
It's just
change
not
his name to
helpful.
Wikipedia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so cool. All right, it is 8 o'clock on the dot. Let me go up and check on my son. So let's take a quick break, 2-minute break. Go get some water or some tea or whatever it is, your beverage of choice, bio break if you need it. Let me go upstairs and check on my son, and I'll be right back. So everybody following along at home, we're taking a quick break. I'll be right back.
We know he's not going to edit any of this part, so we could
Yeah, we could say anything we want.
very amusing things here.
Help us! I enjoyed I was out at my local pub, my tap house, which is like 5 minutes from my house. I discovered recently. They didn't have as many stouts this time. They changed the beers out like weekly.
Mm-hmm.
But they did have a nice, tasty local porter, which I had. So I had that and like this, grilled cheese and some fries, and just kind of enjoyed a lunch, sunny lunch yesterday. It was really nice out.
Nice.
Yeah, not my usual.
Yeah, I can't remember the next time or the last time I had a beer. It's definitely been a while. But I can name the 2 best beers I've ever had in my life. One was years ago in what was the name of it? It was coming up through Eastern Oregon, and we stopped off at a campsite there, and they had dinners, and we had like steak and garlic potatoes, and it was amazing. And they had, I want to say it was a stout, and it was amazing. And then the other time, this is also when I was back in Portland, we went to a Hillsboro Hops baseball game. They're a short A team for the Diamondbacks, and usually I'm not a fan of like IPAs, but they had one at the stadium that night that was actually pretty fantastic.
When I was, I think my best was probably, and this could be a little nostalgia tinged, but that comes with the whole best of.
Mm-hmm.
When I was living in the Netherlands, in Maastricht,
Mm-hmm.
and we would go out, places would generally you would just get the beer they had on tap, the local stuff they had on tap. They had 2 breweries in town, Ritter and Orange Boom, and so you were getting super fresh beer.
Yeah.
But they had there was like a light beer, and it wasn't a light beer. It was just like more like an IPA type, I'd say, in a way. And there was a dark beer. And that's what you ordered. You ordered a light beer or a dark beer.
Mm-hmm.
Or we discovered you could order a half'em, which was a pour of half, 50-50.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And good Lord, I have consumed many of those.
Okay, I am back. Thank you, guys. I have put my son to bed. Mm-hmm. He is happy and life is good. So you've traveled through the woods. Why don't each of you give me a perception roll, and if you have any applicable focuses, you may add them.
So seeing would be a focus.
Seeing, hearing, smell. If you
I get a total +5 to this roll.
Nice.
Oh, nice doubles. And I got 4, 4, and a 3, so 11, and then so 16.
16, and this is for exploration. So if there's any stunts you wish to use, excuse me, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I rolled 14 and got doubles.
Oh, nice. So again, do you understand how stunt points work, Mark?
Nope.
Okay, so
So I'm going to, you know what, I'm just going to use all four, and I am going to put it into the upper hand. If our discoveries lead to combat within a moment or two, you receive a +3 bonus on your initiative roll.
okay, that sounds good. So Mark, what your stunt die? That was one of the die that's a different color from the other two. What number did you roll?
4.
4. Okay, and then what were your doubles? Were they a 4 as well?
4.
4. Okay, so you have 4 stunt points as well. So I'm not sure if you have the list of stunts. They're in the book. But under basic exploration stunts, you have up to 4 points or stunt points, SP, and there's a chart, and it goes from 1 to 5, and you can spend those points. You can break them up. You can spend them however you choose. Brian has decided to put his in ready for action, and like he said, if combat occurs in the next scene, he gets a bonus to his initiative. You can also take usual actions. So what's the bonus you get, Bri? It doesn't say it here on the stunt.
I get a +3.
+3. Okay. Okay. So, and that was, the stunt was ready for action?
I'm looking at my cards, which could be out of date, but it was 4 points. The upper hand.
The upper
If
hand.
your discoveries lead to combat within a moment or two, you receive a +3 bonus to your initiative roll.
Okay. Well, we'll go with that because, to be honest, I don't see where the first edition stunts are that much different or break anything from the second edition. That is actually not in the second edition. But that's okay. We'll let it ride because I like that. So, Mark, if there's a stunt that speaks to you for this situation, you are more than welcome. You have the stunt points. You can spend them how you like. You don't have to spend them, though. If there's nothing that appeals to you, you don't have to use them. They are completely voluntary.
Is there moss around?
Is there moss around? Yes.
I want to be ready for action.
Okay. Moss or monsters?
Moss.
Moss. Yes.
Because that's where she was.
Right.
Muriel.
Right. And you guys can see that there's appears to be more moss in this area, and it is a slight clearing as you wander. So yeah, you're definitely okay. Yeah. So again, you can take a +3 to your initiative if combat occurs as you guys are ready. Do you have your weapon out, Jular? It's up to you.
What sort of action is drawing my weapon?
That would be a minor action.
Okay. I don't think I will have my weapon out yet. Because I think preferentially I don't want to basically come into the clearing looking ready for battle.
Right.
But I want to be ready for battle nevertheless.
Okay.
So ready to spring into action and draw the sword and whatever, but not look like I'm ready to stab something.
Okay, sounds good. So as you guys get to this clearing, and you can clearly see there's been some action here, and in the woods going further north away from the village do get thicker. I mean, the brush gets very dense, and you can see where there's a section of the brush where something has recently gone through there. You can see some broken branches. You know, the bushes and stuff are swayed inwards like something was pulled through it very hastily. What do you guys wish to do?
Is this the place?
It appears to be the place. There is upon further inspection, you can see there is some blood on the ground. Not a huge amount, but if you take a second to look around, you know, because you guys are ready for action, you're prepared. So I'd assume that you're just not lackadaisically walking through there.
Yeah,
you realize.
Yeah, we
the
kind of
area.
looking around. Yeah, warily looking to see what can we see.
So Kiriel, did you get a sense of the age of Muriel the younger or smaller?
You would say yes, you did. She was probably anywhere between 8 and 10 years old.
Won't, provided we get her back, won't be long where she'll be collecting moss.
Yeah,
Pick her
that's
up so
literally
quickly.
why she was here with her mom. She's learning the trade.
I look at Jular, and I give a little bit of a shrug, and as we get to the far side of the clearing and see maybe some of the disturbance, I look around, and then I call out in a loud voice, "We are here for the child. We are here to resolve the matter."
And it seems to come from all around you. But if you had to pick a direction, it seems to be coming more from the north, from that darkened, dense part of the wood foliage. And you hear a voice, slightly feminine, but very harsh, sounds very cruel, more of a forced cruel, like maybe at one time this was not a cruel voice, it's like it's been hardened by pain and ache. And it says, "How can a mother resolve the issue of killed children, human?"
I let the hood fall back so that my ears felt. She may not be able to see them. "I am no man. I am friend to Faye. State your cause. The town is willing to make retribution. There need be no further bloodshed. There need be no further amenity."
No further bloodshed? Has there not been enough bloodshed? My children are dead. Your children live. It is not a fair choice.
I look to my companion, who is more with the talking.
The people of the town are unaware of the damages they have caused you. Perhaps you could elaborate. What children of yours have they slain? Perhaps it is something they have done without realizing the harm they do.
Go ahead and make. I don't have your character sheet in front of me. So do you have anything for like communication or negotiation, willpower, any kind of stunt or any kind of talent?
I have communication etiquette.
Okay, go ahead and make me a roll. We'll give that, because you're smart enough to know that you're dealing with. You can just feel the presence. Both of you can feel it. There's a power.
Can I make an arcane?
Yes.
Can I make an arcane lore?
Very much so.
Actually, what is this in?
Right, a little bit better. Could have used some doubles. 12.
12. You get the sense on the arcane spectrum that you're dealing with something very old and very powerful. In what it is, you don't know, but you do know enough to be wary that this could go bad real quick. There's a power, an ancient power here, long before the elves.
All right.
What'd you get, Mark?
I have rolled.
3. No.
No. 18?
Ooh. Any doubles? Any stunts?
No.
Okay. So, but an 18 is very good. When she retorts back, the edge, the violent, vicious edge that's in her voice is lessened. And she says, "They come, you're humans." And the voice is kind of directed at the mage at this point. She says, "I care not for your Fey heritage. You walk on 2 legs, you are vile, and you kill my children. They come, they take what they want from the forest. They leave nothing in return. They give no homage to the past, and they care not for the future. They just take, and I have nothing but death to live with." And at that point, something comes flying out of the blackness of that area, and you see it's about the size of a small dog, and it looks It's at one time was like some sort of spider, but it was not horrible or horrendous looking, not violent. It was this cute, soft
Wow.
little spider. It's clearly fey, but it did, it had little tiny mandibles. They didn't look vicious. They're not dripping with venom or anything, and you can see that it's covered in this like. Well, you know what? You'd have to give me an intelligence if you have forestry knowledge or anything like that. Any kind of role like that. If not, just straight intelligence, engineering, anything along those lines. Sciences.
An 11 for me.
An 11. It's quite not good enough. Mark, anything?
Natural lore or no?
Yeah, I'll give you that. The target number is going to be a little high, but natural lore.
Okay.
Brian, do you have natural lore?
That's a 12.
Arcane lore.
Arcane lore. Okay, what did you get, Mark?
It'd be a 12.
I bet a 12. And Brian, you got an 11.
An 11. If arcane lore counts, then the 13.
All right, I'll give it to you under the arcane, just because probably, in my world, they probably do use some alchemical and magical processes. It looks like this small spiderling is covered in some sort of sludge. And it smells faint of maybe a little bit of magic, if magic has a smell, whatever that smell is. The elven mage could probably tell us. But it looks more like the sludge of a byproduct of maybe treating the lumber at the lumber mill. And it smells kind of vaguely familiar. You guys had been in town for 3 days, so you've smelt the smell. It's a byproduct of treating the wood before they float it down the river. And you just can't quite put your finger on it, but it has something to do with the mill.
So the wood, their lumber process is creating some kind of residue that's poisoning the creatures of these creatures of the forest.
It appears that way. And then she says, "My children die in the hundreds, and yet you men do nothing but make more death. Why should I give you? Why should I not take a penny for a pound?" Not that she would know.
Because that is, you know what, I am going to maybe Muriel probably knows the story as well, so maybe we're both able to. It's probably not, but because that is not, ancient mother, that is not your way. Why would you? You have spent your life raising, creatures of the forest, tending to things, and that this, in your grief, should be forced upon you, that you should be, brought to do things contrary to how you have lived millennia. I will not stand for this. I will pledge to you, we will stop this taint of the forest. We will, we understand that children cannot be brought back, but we can stop it for the future if you allow us to do this for you.
She, you don't hear anything, and then in a second, you see the woods and that deep hole. They look like they're starting to move. Go ahead and give me a communication roll, and if you have any applicable talents, oratory, persuasion, anything, you can.
I'd like to apply, for me, I'd like to apply my arcane lore, since I'm entreating and communicating with an ancient, fayish creature.
I will give that to you. The target number will be +1, so you'll need a 13 or better.
Ooh, 2 6s, double 6s, but not on the stunt die, of course.
Of course.
So it's a 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 for communication, 17, 18 for arcane lore.
Okay, so looking at the new social stunts, let me see. Okay, I'm gonna I'm going to spend 4 of your basic social stunts. I don't know if you have this one on your list.
My stunt points are 3. I got
Oh, it's
3 stunt.
3. All right. Well, then we'll go with impress. +1 per spell point spent on your next social test, but I'll let you apply it to this one involving the same target. So basically, long story short, your words resonate with her. And as you say that, and both of you appear to be in a non-threatening stance, you see the rustle of the woods and the clearing, and she steps out, and it's clearly the size of a large draft horse with these long, spindly legs. But again, it's not horrific looking. It's just ancient and old, but it is a spider, and it has many faceted eyes, more than a normal spider. And when you look into the eyes, they look kind, but in pain. And you can
Great pain.
And you can see on the back is all these little, spiders like churro spiders. Some of them have some black on them. Some are barely clinging on. And she kind of comes halfway out of the woods. Her mandibles are dripping a little bit of this greenish ichor. Clearly, it's not good. It's venomous of some kind. And then her pedipalps are, they're moving, and you can see she's agitated and she's very taut, like she's ready to jump at the slightest, indication of violence.
That nearest spider, that was little spiderling that had come out at us, that was like cute but
dead,
but corrupted, essentially, right?
Yeah.
I get off my horse. I want to be respectful. And I would like to use my cure spell and gently put a hand, healing touch or cure, but this feels like it's a disease or poison. So I'm gonna spend, it would be 7 points because I'm wearing leather armor under my robes.
Right.
Is it still alive or is it dead?
It appears to be dead.
Oh.
Yeah, it's dead.
Oh.
But there's others on her back that are alive that don't look good at all.
I approach one. I approach her.
Okay.
And and if she'll allow me, I will. I'm going to spend 6 points, and I'm going 7 points, and I will cast Cure on the nearest one as I touch it softly.
So you approach her, and she scuttles back a little bit. But then, as she sees that you're non-threatening, she comes forward. And she says, "What treachery of the man is this? I warn you."
This is elven healing magic.
And she kind of, like, you see one of her eyes kind of looks kind of back, because it's creepy eyes. And it looks back at one of the little spiderlings, for lack of a better word. And it's moving very lethargically, and you can hear it, like, it makes these little high-pitched winces, like it's in pain as it moves, and you can see it's got some of that black ichor on it, but it comes down and it comes near you. She puts one of her legs out, and the thickness of her leg, and this is one of her smaller legs, is clearly as big around as your chest, and it comes out, and it the tip of it digs into the ground, an inch or two, and the little spiderling kind of crawls along it. And you can see that as it's leaving some of this black goo, it is actually burning the mother. You can see you get this acidic smell that smells really bad.
So I will do that, and all right, 12, 13, 14, 15. So I made my roll.
Okay.
And no doubles, so it's going to. This is the healing arcana.
Okay.
Flipping back and forth, and
that's
PDF.
fine.
And so this would be this is cure. So I spend the 7 magic points. It's a major action, and it would immediately cure any one disease or poison affecting them.
Well, it is definitely a poison, and you see. Describe how your magic is. There a glow? Is there something that comes off of
It's
your
like
hand?
this. It's like this warm low blue glow in my gauntlet. My gauntlet is my arcane focus, and then kind of it infuses into the spiderling and invigorates them with life.
Okay. Yeah, and you could see the black ichor that's kind of coating part of this little spiderling's body kind of bubbles as the green light, kind of seeps into it, and it almost like seeps in and then pushes the whatever this ichor is off of it, and the little spiderling, it's got a couple of those eyes, and they kind of glow brightly. And if a spider could give you a smile, that's kind of what it gives you. And you see its little pedipalps, on its mouth, kind of like, they just move real fast, like it's happy, and it scurries back up its mother, and it like kind of nuzzles her, and the mother kind of looks at you, and she just says, "You are not like the other man things. Your magic is pure, and the other one has honeyed words that speak well." What
other one? What other one?
The envoy.
Me.
The one next to you.
Oh.
Yeah. This is what, and now she seems like her anger has left, and she's not defeated. It's more of a sense of like happiness and hope. And if you've ever seen a great ancient fey creature cry, you're seeing it now. And it is very humbling, and the moment is somber, but the venom in her voice is very much lessened. She's still wary, and she looks at you, Jular, and says, "How can you make them stop poisoning my children?"
To this point, I do not believe they know. The man who is their leader is a good, honorable man. Had he known the damage the town is doing, he would not stand for it. We will make them aware of the damage they are causing by their actions in the town, and with hope, they will cease the activity that is harming you and yours.
And you see some of the other little spiderlings, they like, they're running around moving on her back, and there's a couple, a good 30 of them on her back. Some of them are more in a decayed status, some are real close to death. And she looks at you, mage, and she says, can you do this to the rest of my children?" Brian, she's asking you.
And I'm answering on you. The classic problem of our age. She agreed, told me that we came to an agreement and there was going to be lots of gold. And yes, so that cost me 7 magic points, and I've got 29, so I can do that several more times before I need to rest, and I would do so for her.
Okay. So we're gonna say that you do that, and as you're doing that, she would request that Jular go back and explain to the town their poison, and bring back word of what their answer is, and then she will decide from there what happens next. But as a sign of good faith, and you see the legs behind her, they kind of you see them moving, and you see this small child, about 8-year-old little blonde-haired girl. She's unconscious. She's webbed up, but her face, and her mouth and everything is clear. She is clearly unharmed, but she is sleeping, and she lays the child at Jular's feet. Her arms are long enough that she passes them from one set of arms to another, and then the child is laid at your feet, and she says, "Take the little one back to her mother, for no mother should feel the pain that I have felt," and remind them the horror and the pain that they have caused me, and what little touch of pain that I have given them, I can bring more if they do not mend their ways. This is their only warning.
Does do these spiders, John? Even with the arcane lore and stuff, do they do spider webs at all? Do they have that capability?
The mother does, the little ones don't. They pretty much.
But do the little ones, like as they get older, as they grow up, do the older ones?
You would assume so, yeah.
Well, it might be interesting because they'll have to change the process or lose the lumber, right?
Mhm.
So they're going to look at that, Jular, right? Like a loss of that, so that could potentially block. But what if they became friends and maybe the spider silk could be woven, and that could become an industry that the town and the spiderlings could both prosper. And if they both prospered, the people would really have nothing but reasons to defend the spiders and kind of, it would be more than just stop doing it. It would give them a reason, and it could replace the lumber.
Yeah.
Everybody does lumber.
Right. Yeah, I mean, do you say this in front of her? Or are you speaking plainly?
Yeah,
Yeah.
as a possibility.
Yeah. She doesn't say yay or nay either way, and her aggressive stance is lessened a lot, and she takes her one of her appendages, and it's kind of hooked, and she just kind of easily cuts the silk that the little girl's wrapped in, and then Jular, as you go to remove it, this stuff is like chainmail. It's yeah, you're not breaking this easily. So there very well could be applications that could benefit both sides.
Yeah.
And she will not complain if you want to take some of the webbing with you.
Okay. Of course, it is something that you would be a partner to them. We would ensure that they treat you as they would their own children. You would not be but a resource to them.
She nods.
You
Her head kind of goes a little lower to the ground as she kind of nods, and you can see clearly as Curiel is healing these little spiderlings that they start to frolic around him, and they're kind of crawling over him. And it's not a creepy thing. They're adorably cute.
She'd become like the mother to the town.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A thing, a creature to be revered.
Yeah. And I will say that the 3 days that you've spent in town, nobody in the town is like, we rape the woods to get everything we want. Ha ha ha, we're getting rich. Fuck nature.
See us, we shoot those spiders with our arrows.
Man, I killed 20 spiders in one day. I'm a badass.
Yeah.
No, it's nothing like that. It's one of those prosperous
Depend on
towns.
spider trade.
Yeah. Stuffed spiders everywhere you go. Man, it's creepy. No. So she is like, go and bring back your word. Bring back the word of the village, while this one tends to my children. And she tells you, Jular, that nothing on the way back will bother you. Do you take Curiel's horse, or do you just run? Because it's maybe a 15-20 minute walk at most. You could do it in 10 minutes if you ran at a good pace, but I don't see you as the running type.
Yeah, only in extreme circumstances. It's
Take
not yet.
My trusty steed, Flaxen Mane.
All right. Yeah, I will ride Flaxen Mane with Muriel, the smaller, and a sampling of the spider silk.
Okay.
Ride like the wind plays in the background.
All right. So Curiel, we'll leave you there. You're healing. We'll just assume that you take the average of the roll and you're able to heal as many as you can. Obviously, you can't do them all in one sitting. You explain this to the mother, and she is willing to guard you and protect you through the night so that you may rest. She understands the flow of mana and that you mercurial creatures, don't have it like she does. So it takes you time to get it, while as Jular rides back to town, and of course,
Yeah.
Balin.
I'll bring back some orange slices for you.
Nice.
Some Mountain Dew. So you get into town, and you can see, as you start riding into town, people are starting to call for Balin, and then he comes running, and there's about 3 or 4 guys. They're in chainmail. They've got spears. They've got torches ready to be lit. And they're ready, and Balin's, he's got his sword strapped on, he's in his armor, he looks very regal and noble, but there is a look of concern on his face, and you see Muriel the mother and Modarn the herbalist are standing there, and when they see that you have the child in your arms, the mother just breaks free and goes running towards you, and grabs her child, and she's crying.
I will hand her child down to her, and once she has her and steps away, I'll dismount from Flaxen Mane, and then sort of gesture to all the arms and armor and say, that will not be necessary, at least not yet.
So Balin looks at you and says, "You've killed the beast? You found out what monster is harming our children?"
Well, it appears that the harm begins here, and unless you wish a war with an ancient creature of the forest, it needs to end here as well.
And he just looks at you in shock. He says, "Please, come to my house, and we will talk of this further, and see what we can do." And he, a couple of minutes later, you get to the mayor's house, and it's not anything fancy. It's very functional, but it's nice. And he brings you into a study area, and he pours you a glass of brandy in a snifter, and he says, "Here, clear your throat. Let's sit and talk, and maybe we can come to consensus. Please tell me what has transpired. What is the problem?"
I believe the problem is in whatever process is used in your lumber treatment. There is a byproduct of that is causing harm, at least to this. She never gave us her name, right?
No, she did not.
Yeah. There's an ancient creature in the forest, and the process is harming her children.
You mean the sludge?
The sludge, yes.
He says, it is just a byproduct of the treatment of the wood before we send it down the river. We could, and you say this is harming this creature and it's young?
That is correct.
Well, that's unacceptable.
My companion remained behind. He is doing what
and you see a sigh of relief come. He goes, "Oh, I thought for sure that perhaps he was lost in some great battle, but I'm glad to know he is well."
If there were to ever be a battle, I would fall long before he would.
Well, I'm glad that neither one of you have. He says, "Please give me the afternoon to consult with the lumbermen and see. I'm sure there's something we can do." He seems very concerned and empathetic to what you're telling him, and is severely distraught by the fact that whatever the village is doing is harming the natural wildlife around him is not acceptable to him. And so he says, "Please."
Before you go, the creature seemed amenable to an arrangement, and I will, produce the spider silk.
Yeah.
And offer it to him and say, "Examine that, please."
Yeah, and he'll do his due diligence, and he tries to cut it with his dagger, and he can't, and he bangs on it and stuff, and it doesn't break or anything. So he's like, there could be many applications for this. Again, the lumberman would know more, and the alchemist in town, and maybe even Modarn, the herbalist, might have need of this. Perhaps there is something fruitful that can come from all of this. Please feel free to wait here, and I'll have food brought if you hunger. It should not take me long to deal with the village people.
Sweet, the village people are going to make an appearance. That's
Right.
awesome, dude. We're going to have a little musical number. We're all going to sing.
YMCA.
This is a great.
With
This has been
audience
a great.
participation.
Yeah, this is like a variety show, man.
We're gonna
This
have
is
an
awesome.
impromptu concert. Ziggy
Yeah.
Stardust and the Spiders from Mars, along with the village people. They go, who could ask for more? Yeah. So long story short, he leaves you there.
Sha-na-na.
He talks for a good hour, and he comes back, and he's got a little pep in his step, and he says, please go back and tell this entity that our sincerest apologies. We did not know that the sludge would be harmful to we tested it on our farm animals, and it caused no problem. Clearly this is an oversight, and we are to blame, and we will stop using the alchemical process. There are other ways to process the wood. It does take longer. It will cost more, but this village has been here for many years, and we would like it to stay here for many more years, but not at the cost of harming the wildlife in the area. And his words are true and very positive, and
The silk trade would more than offset
and
the cost
that's kind of what the
differential.
merchant.
And I do mention that.
Yeah.
That any loss caused by expenses incurred due to other processes, perhaps in partnership with this fake creature, can produce goods that could not be replicated anywhere else.
Well, you see, he does not come back with the silk. So and like I said, he seems very positive and sure. So he basically, long story short, because we're coming up on time, he tells you to head back to your friend and to the entity and tell her that we are willing to parlay. And, if she wants us to send a representative there to speak with her, or if she wants us to make accommodations for her at a neutral ground, whatever it takes to make this happen, he is willing to do, and that she has the town's sincerest apology, and whatever they can do to help, they will do. So you're able to ride. I almost said flax and mane back.
Yeah. I also want to bring along some food for Kirill.
Yeah, easily done.
I imagine expending as much energy as he is, he'll need it.
Fruits and berries, because elves in this pansy world don't eat meat. So yeah, and you know that. So
You mean other living creatures with feelings and
You come back, the
family?
spiders are all dead.
No, we fucking don't, you human, you fucking prancing pink monkey. We absolutely don't eat creatures.
Yeah. Fucking
I actually
giant spiders curled up with its legs curled in, dead, sucked of all its magical essence. Kiriel's over there, fat as a hog, just big smile on his face, licking his
eat
fingers.
magical essence.
Right.
Yeah. I eat meat every other day. I'm only half elf.
I'm only half. Nice. So long story short, you spend a couple days in the woods. You're able to heal the spiderlings.
And the spider entity herself. I will use heal and healing touch and palm.
She is not infected.
I saw she was getting burned where some of the children were. So if that needs any tending.
Yeah, it heals, within minutes after it happens. For she is too far old and powerful to be subject to puny manlings, poisons. But it is a positive situation. The village is spared a grotesque, painful, slow death by being invaded by angry spiders. And you guys are able to broker a peace between a very great and elderly fae creature of very immense power, and help make the village profitable. And it's a win-win. And that... you're able to make it to town. You're celebrated as heroes, and everyone thanks you for being the heroes that you are. And that is Fantasy Age 2nd edition. So
I want a spiderling familiar.
That could be arranged.
Nice.
So aside from that, very well done on your guys' part. I kind of like the envoy. I mean, you didn't get to do a whole lot, Mark, but I think you played the spirit of the character, which I thought was cool. You made some good rolls.
I got to make a communication roll. I imagine if there were like more time or anything like that, but
Yeah.
I mean, the one of the trickiest things with a face type character in a lot of games is, if the face, like in Shadowrun, the face typically they negotiate for stuff, and occasionally they'll talk to people, but it's like, well, we could have a fight here, or the face can just talk everyone out of the fight, and it can get a little bit tricky to sort of balance things.
Yeah. And I was prepared for, if you guys went in there with a cocky attitude and, we're like, F you, Spider, we're going to kick you. I mean, there was going to be a fight, and there's not saying that you would not have beat her, but it would have been a hard fight. But I think, your character has some combat prowess, and then of course the mage has spells. It would not have been a one-sided fight at all. But you guys would have had to work for your bread, let's put it that way. But I really liked the way it went because it didn't de-evolve to combat. You guys were able to talk your way out of it and come to a peaceful resolution. And you saved the life of an ancient fey creature. So I think that's pretty cool and worth itself. You're automatically second level. Huzzah. You guys rock. Thank you so much. I'm going to end the recording here so we can, unless you guys want to talk about it a little bit. Hopefully you were happy with your time spent.
I just want to say that, I mean, as far as sort of the resolution of the whole thing, it felt good because it could have devolved into a fight, but it wasn't going to be because we went in looking for it.
Right. I thought you guys played it very well. And it could have devolved into a fight. And let's face it, it's a role-playing game. The bread and butter is kick in the door, kill the monsters, take the treasure, move to the next room. But it doesn't always have to be that way. And it was nice that in this instance, it didn't turn out that way, that you guys played out the negotiation and came to a resolution that was agreeable to everybody involved. So
I think that a really cool thing about this, like I said, a lot of times, like the face will just sort of short circuit an encounter and end it before it starts. But we were able to do a little bit of back and forth, and there was the magical side, and Curiel was able to do healing while I was able to talk to her and then take back. And
because
so
she was about ready to pounce. When
I think
you played it well.
I think I'm glad, Mark, that because I was also doing the talkie thing, which is kind of like sometimes when you're playing the face and somebody else is playing your character who gets talky. It's like, I tried to make room to do some sharing. I think maybe I have to go back and read, but the assistance rules. We've been playing a lot of Modifius 2D20. Right. And assisting there would have been so easy because even if I had been doing more of the speaking, we, as a role player, we could have jazzed that up, and I could have just been assisting him, or he could have been assisting me, and so I would want to check that. But I think there was a nice balance, and I am very, like Mark, I'm very satisfied with the ending. I appreciate the GM being open to it as well, and it flowing that way, and it didn't feel like it was forced. But I would say, combat is a thing, but I think I'm getting more hip to in my ancient age here of but in when I think about good when I think about good other media, the combat in all series isn't necessarily killing people, right? It's nice to see some sword play and action, but I'm okay if it's not limbs being hacked off and stuff, and the real thing here was, well, what are we trying to do? I'm big about okay, what's the result we're trying to produce? So the point of this whole excursion was bring back the child, and I think Mark and I were looking for and solve the greater problem, right? There was a reason that the child was taken, solve that. And beat shit up wasn't actually one of the stated goals. So I think we were able to achieve our objectives fully without necessarily needing to, kick the door down.
Right. Yeah. And I was going to throw in a bandit encounter, but as I was coming up, and this was strictly impromptu, I knew the big bad was going to be a giant spider because I love giant spiders in my game. And giant spiders usually freak people out in one shape, form, or another. So it was kind of nice to have the antagonist be a giant spider, but not necessarily violent. It could have gone that way. So I thought, we want to showcase the system, but this is a skill-based system, so combat works the same way skill resolution does. So if you see how skills work, you know how combat works. So there was no need to necessarily interject a combat scene when one wasn't needed, and I felt that it would have been a little forced if I would have done that, just to have a combat for the sake of having combat. It was a heavy role-play scene. It was somewhat emotional,
You did not give it up easy. You let us. This was one that I think, John, actually both the rule system, and Mark, I'd love your take on this as well. But the rule system I felt was supportive, but that was kind of a multi-phase process. You allowed us to be successful without like it turning right away. So we went through several stages, and like. I felt there was a thing or two of like, okay, John's giving it up because we're giving him a combination of like skill rolls and role playing some interesting ideas to go along with them.
Yeah, you worked the situation because it could have gone either way. If you'd have walked in there and said, you know what, bitch, stop doing this, we're going to kill you, she would have just eaten you guys, and it would have been a hard fight. She's not a combat monster. She's powerful, and basically I just used the stats for a giant spider in the core rulebook, and I tweaked it a little bit. I gave her some extra talents that she, and made her fey, whereas the giant spider in the book is just a monster to eat players, So I manipulated the rules after reading some of the GM section, and I thought it was applicable. And like I said, it could have went either way, but you guys. The mission was to get the little girl back and figure out what's going on, because every indication was this is a nice place. It's not like full of brigands and greedy people that are destroying the land. This is a place that's harmonious with the area, and then all of a sudden this bad thing happens. There's got to be a catalyst. There's got to be something, that's making it bad, and getting to the bottom of that and actually talking to her. She didn't want to fight. She didn't want any more of her children to die, but she had enough, and she didn't know how to. Humans are like what fairies are to humans. They're ethereal, they're magical. She doesn't understand your culture any way, shape, or form. And cities are a blight on her land. But this city, this little town, at first, she's watched it grow from when it was just, two people on a cart. And it's never been a blight on the land, and then all of a sudden these bad things start happening. So she's confused, hurt, in pain. So I just thought about it logically. What would I do if I was in that situation? I'd probably strike out in violence, but it wouldn't be the way I'd want to go. But I don't know any other way. You know what I mean?
It was a fun little demo. Yeah. I definitely thought it was a fun demo adventure.
All right,
Mark, I think you were piping in there.
Yeah, I think these two characters were like the perfect pair of characters to do this, and I felt that Curiel coming in, doing talking, worked really well because it was very focused on the magical side of things, not just doing the bard thing and just talking about whatever. So while you were talking and you could communicate, it was a sort of in your lane.
Yeah, I think you both did really well, and you played your character. Nice. We're going to go ahead and wrap up the recording there. I want to thank everybody who's watching for watching and giving us your time, and hopefully you enjoyed this. If you did, make some comments down in the doobly-doo below. I want to give a big thank you to Mark and Brian for playing along and letting me run this little adventure. I had much fun, and I definitely dig Fantasy Age. I think it's a good rule system. Way back from the days when I first bought Dragon Age, and then we got Fantasy Age. And
I ran you through that stuff at the con, and it was using Dragon Age with Freeport, with another Chris Premise, famous one. Freeport using Cobalt Quarterly had done early articles.
Yep, I played a mage. I remember that.
Yep,
I played a fire mage. So yeah, a lot of fun. Thank you guys. We can chat a little bit more, but I want to go ahead and end the recording here. I want to say thank you to everybody for watching and everything as always. And just remember, as always, Mr. Mean says, be nice.